This is going to be a white lithium Eurotrash short. Hopefully it's a short. But in this video I just am going to be installing these the gear selector housing bushing kit on the shift lever from Modern Classic Saab on this car, my 84 Turbo. I've already put the Modern Classic Saab shifter on there. Let's go. We'll start by removing the shift lever, which I just installed a while ago. And yeah, undoing these screws. Okay, we have removed the nicely produced Modern Classic Saab shift lever, which now let us start to see what's in here, which is what we're getting at is way down in here. So we're gonna have to get these covers off now. So it would appear that somebody has been in here many times before because screws are missing screws here that hold the ashtray. Okay. It would appear that I don't actually need to do anything over here with the console, that I actually just take out these, first of all, these two screws right here on this piece to lift that up off, then take off these, a screw here, and now I think these screws in back might actually liberate this thing, but let's see. And then by removing these two screws in the back of the console, I can now get this off. But the question is, am I gonna need to take the seat out? Which I think I am, because I don't know if I have enough space actually to liberate this from between the seat. I'm wondering if I even need to remove the entire console. When you lift this piece up, all of a sudden this rubber bellow that takes up the slack comes out, exposing the screws that will hold this in. But I'm not even sure that I need to do that, because I can now get at the bolts that are holding this piece in. Okay. Purchased from Modern Classic Saab this 3/8 socket, which is for getting on those special bolts, which was like, I don't know, it was like some reasonable price, like 20 bucks. Why not get it from that? Look at that bad boy. Knee Pros 90. I don't fuck around at the Milwaukee house. 90 teeth. These weren't on that tight, but the socket fits perfectly. Let's see if I can get on these ones without screwing up the car. Make just the slightest cut in the carpet right here to give me a little bit more room, because these are like carriage bolts, and so I have to be able to work from underneath under the tabs for the bolt. Probably make note of the position of these connectors before we unplug it, I think. Now this is a confusing part. You'll get it out to here and you'll be like, how does this come apart? Well, I think that right here and here, connecting this white plastic to this aluminum die casting, are two Phillips screws. You can see with my camera like that, which are gonna be very hard to get on, but I think I'm gonna have to take those off in order to separate this here. And at this point, I don't think I'm not sure if I need to actually do this or not. I'm learning through a journey of discovery, but I took out the two screws right here and I'm taking this whole console out. This whole piece just pulls right out and you're left with a Saab with no console. Not very much holding that in. Okay, somebody had been in here and that's why there's a bunch of screws missing. Okay, so now let's see if we can get a little bit better look at what's going on here. Shit. I don't want to cut this carpet. Okay, so what I've done, and you might not even need to do this, please comment, but I've actually tipped the seats back, not fully uninstalled them, just so I could release this carpet. It's in like two pieces, okay? And that lets me kind of fold this back just a little bit right here, which is giving me just a little bit more access to what's happening right there. All right, now it gives me just a little bit more space to come in here with a small head 1/4 inch bit ratchet to get on those screws from underneath. Okay, so at this point, I have decided I need to see what's going on in the linkage with this other mechanism, so I'm actually taking off both sill plates, and I'm gonna fold this carpet further up to give me some access. As I've peeled back this carpet, I can get a better access to look at what all's in here, which is not very much other than that square piece, which I surmise is the self-centering mechanism where that square runs on these rollers and causes the shift lever to feel centered as the square turns and pushes out on the spring, and the spring was broken. So I'm surmising that that is why the shift lever is not centering, which, although when I get in here, it's sad because, you know, the bushing actually doesn't seem that bad, which means the, you know, shift problems may be related to something else. I was really hoping it was going to be this. So I'm torn. I think this is a good enough bushing here. I may just leave this in place instead of putting the modern classic Saab piece on it, and then we'll replace that spring and put it back together. Hopefully I can get it all back together, and we will do the shift alignment procedure. All right, so it's the next morning. I'm about to make some coffee, and I'm getting all the stuff ready to head to the hardware store. So obviously I need to find the replacement little spring for the self-centering mechanism, which I think might be the root of all my problems, right? When it doesn't center, you don't really know where third is. You don't know where the gear is, so you're fishing around in there, and maybe a lot of the perception of the chunkiness of the gearbox or the inability to go into gear is a function of the self-centering mechanism being broken. That makes sense. So also I've noticed with the modern classic Saab shifter, it's a little bit thicker, so I'm going to get some longer screws that have more engagement, just so I can really kind of get better torque holding that thing on. I need to come up with a couple more of these clips and these screws for the center console. Some of them had been missing from before. Now, I do think I'm going to end up using this rubber bushing from the modern classic Saab piece with the original metal interior, possibly. I'm going to have to think about that. Let's see what Liston has going on over on the Volvo front. So what's the struggle?
It's just prying this piece without breaking it off in case I can still use it.
Does YouTube have anything to say about it?
Yeah, but...
Are you supposed to be able to pry it off? I was looking at that piece and I was like, what holds it on?
He pried it off without taking the door panel off, but I'm thinking it's going to be... I've almost got it off, but if you can see, it's inset into here. And so I've loosened this up here.
Do you want to just take the...
I think I just need to take the door panel off, which is annoying, but I'm probably going to have to do that to do this safely without breaking the piece. I have stuff. I can do it. I'm just gonna do it that way. It just feels...
Because it's pretty far behind, unless it comes off from the top. Pry the top off first.
I did already, look. Okay?
And see if it... Okay.
It did, but do you see it's seated in there? And so when I try to... And then I've even gone under here, and I've taken the leverage away, so it should just kind of pop up.
I mean, it's more work, but taking the door card off is going to be the safe bet. The sad thing is, oh god, it'd be nice if we had that part to do at the same time, but...
I have it in my thing, so eventually I'll do a parts order, but I need to go through the car to make sure I don't... To make sure I have what I need, and I'm not going to have to come back in and have to get more... I'm going to procrastinate by getting, you know, I'm making all of these screws consistent and the same. You know, I got a bunch of stuff which basically I want all of the missing hardware in the interior. It annoys me when there's hardware missing, so I'm going to make sure it's all there and it's all completely identical. We went up to Blifford Hardware in River West in Milwaukee, and it's an incredible hardware store, independently owned. And when you look at the little nuts and bolts and fasteners and the selection and everything they have, incredible diverse range of stuff, far greater than an Ace Hardware or anything would have. Even, you know, specialty little hardware items and specialty metric items and specialty automotive items, they've got it all. And that stuff isn't super profitable for a hardware store. And I was just thinking, like, living in a hardware desert is almost like living in a food desert, where it persecutes your ability to maintain things. It persecutes your ability to live an organized life and repair things yourselves. Just like the absence of a grocery store with healthy food, removes your ability to nourish your body. I'm so happy. She's breaking out her snap-on ratcheting screwdriver. This was purchased at Factory Gear in Tokyo. Oh, I forgot you even own that. That makes me so happy. What we're gonna do is we're gonna deep clean this area. There's a bunch of this like insulation material around and some leftover nuts and stuff, nut shells. So we're gonna clean this area before we really get in here. At the hardware store, I wasn't able to find exactly the same spring, but I was able to find some springs that had essentially the same properties and were very close, that I might be able to either resize, or I'm thinking I might be able to modify this mechanism just slightly. But I want to find out, first of all, what is the natural position that this mechanism is sitting in, okay? Because the way that this works is you've got that square, and then I'm gonna have to reposition myself for a sec here. Here you can see that the natural position for that shift lever self-centering mechanism is with the metal arms parallel. So that will let me gauge how much extension we need out of that spring. And honestly, when I look at that, it doesn't surprise me at all that these springs break, because you have a relatively short spring with quite a bit of tension, and I think you're just overextending that spring. I think this was another miss by Saab. See, if you look at this, okay, here's, so the natural position, so if you look at this, in the normal state, these arms are basically parallel. You look at this spring that was the original spring, it's really quite extended even in that position. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do is actually take one of these other springs and try to have a heavier tension spring, you know, with just a couple more coils, which will hopefully achieve the same feel. But I'm going to try and do something you really shouldn't do, and I'm going to modify a spring. People online have told me they can get this factory spring, but I don't think it's very well designed as is. All right, so let's start by just kind of cutting some off here. Come on, baby. Come on. Ooh, that's, yeah, spring wire is hard. Okay, so got something a little bit longer here, and then I'm going to progressively shorten it until I kind of get what I want out of it. Here's what I've ended up with. Here is the original spring. So it is a little bit longer. Now I'm going to check how much tension it actually has when I install it. At this moment, I have decided to get myself even additional clearance by removing this galvanized bracket right here. And once I'm in this position now, I can really tell and have the freedom to see what's going on and determine that I need my spring just a little bit shorter. So let's go back and modify that slightly. At this juncture, I'm just going to lightly reinstall the shifter mechanism with just a couple of these bolts, and just pretty much, I just want to test the shifter feel with this spring before I go too far with it, you know. So let's see here. I'm not going to torque that down very. Okay, so here's where we're at. The shifter in this mock-up returns pretty well from the one side, not as well from the other side. I think when I bolt it all down and get it lubed, it'll be better, but just like, it's not, once I get some grease on it, I think it'll be better. Let's see.
For posterity, I'm going to loosen and retighten these little screws that control the vertical position of this mechanism right here.
Without further ado, it is time to do a little white lithium. We're gonna douse everything down in grease to make it super slippery.
We have about as much grease as you can put on this assembly. And so now I'm gonna start reassembly. Okay, so we've got that assembly all put together. And now we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the shift lever on, grease it up, and then we're gonna perform this, we're gonna try and perform this linkage alignment process with this pin, okay? So I think I can bolt on the shifter and still get the rest of the trim on around it. I should be able to get the rubber up through here. So yeah, I don't think there's any reason why I shouldn't be able to do that. Let's do it. And again, this lovely modern classic Saab shifter, we're gonna put a double dose of white lithium grease on the bottom of that. A double dose. I'm not forgetting something right now, am I? Really hope not. Let's just grease it up. Big old load of grease. It's gonna be sloppy in there, I know, but better in this instance, you know what? Erring on the side of over lubrication, I don't think is a bad thing. Okay, so let's get that into there. And find center on that. Let's get these all screwed in here. View. I need to charge this camera. This has been a real journey of discovery for me. This is a job I thought I was going to do in like 3 hours, and this is going to turn into a multi-day affair, actually. Okay, so now, all right, we've got a shift lever installed. Everything's tight. Everything's greased. I mean, it has a good detent, but it doesn't, it's so annoying. It doesn't really self-center the way I want it to. No, I mean, it's moving in and out of gear really well right there. So our alignment, I think, so that would be, let's see, there's 1. Now let's go into 3. And then when we're in 3, we can come over here and like, there should be an alignment pin, right? Oh my word. That should line up, right? Huh. Well, maybe we've discovered part of our problem. Okay guys, now we're kind of at the crossroads because there's supposed to be a hole right there where the pin, a hole lines up in the shift rod with that hole for alignment in 3rd gear. And it does not. I have no hole there. So my question is, why? So I have determined why this car shifts like absolute shit. And so for whatever reason, somebody did not use the alignment procedure when they set the shift linkage here. Okay, so the hole, okay, let me show you. The alignment hole is there in the rod right there, okay? But it was nowhere to be found when I was in 3rd gear, and it's supposed to line up right here with this corresponding hole. So what it means is now I jack up the car, loosen the bushing or the coupler and set this, but then I'm like, how did this even work? How did they set this previously? Not surprised at all that it shifts terribly. And again, you know, Saabs have this terrible reputation for transmissions, but you think how much lousy work basically, you know,
either ruins a transmission from not enough clutch travel, like in my previous video, some insane alignment. Like, this is not the factory alignment. Somebody's been in here doing something at some point trying to fix this and did it totally wrong. So it's time to, it's time to go back to brass tacks. Okay, so we need to loosen up the shift coupler, and I'm torn between above the engine and below the engine. I think I might try from below. Let's see, that's 13 millimeters. Yeah, I already put a reel up on my Instagram, but like I said, this tight reach has been in my toolbox forever. I've even felt stupid for buying it because I was like, I never use it. But in this instance, getting to loosen up that shift rod coupler, that's actually coming from the top, because you know what? I've got a steering rack right there with all those hoses. I've got half of mine to just pull the steering rack off and do all that, because then I'd have easy access, right? Pull off all those steering hoses because I'm going to change them anyways. But I do want to test drive the car after I fix this shifter, so I don't want to take all that apart yet. So I'm going to come at it from the top with this arrangement right here. Let's see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to fish down the tight reach onto there, onto this nut. All right, way down in there. We're going to get this. Here I am. Okay.
I can't.
Let's see here. You're not going to get a good view, but. And it's totally working. Wait, I'm wrong way. We're tightening it. Okay, it's loose. All right, awesome. Wow, okay, cool. So now what I need to do is I need to get the transmission into the locked position on the cover. I'll show you what that is. The situation is going from bad to worse because notice that this transmission cover now doesn't have the place to lock into the shift rod for the alignment. So now I have to somehow figure out what gear I'm in, and hopefully it's third. You know what my problem is, right? Because I had assumed that I would be able to stick the pin in the shift rod in the transmission to ensure I was in the right position for third. Okay, I didn't, and so I wasn't really worried about what gear I was in here. Now I'm like, okay, I need to actually kind of move this to sort out, like, am I even in the right gear? So this is a disaster, but what I basically did is by, checking the wheels, I assured that the car is in neutral. So at least now I've gotten it back to neutral where it will kind of go into gear. So the question is, we need to somehow make really fine adjustments to it right now, to the position of the shift linkage to get it to actually go into gear. So how do I do this? I need to move it slightly until it, and make sure that it stays in neutral. Okay. Drive the car. Here, can you run the camera for a minute? Just to test it. This has been a real debacle. That thing's not under the front wheel anymore, is it?
Did you take it out?
No, did you?
No,
It's right there.
I asked you.
No, I don't think it's there.
No, it's not. It's slow. Alright, do you want me to restart this?
No, it's not. Window's turning now?
Yeah, they're turning.
First gear.
moving, but yeah. Now they're moving.
Okay, I got it. You know, when I first got this car from the guy in Michigan, brought it across on the ferry, it basically wouldn't even go into first gear or third gear. And so to have it like this, that's awesome. Now the thing about fifth, okay, fifth is hard to find. Fifth is like just, you know, you go over here for reverse, right? But fifth is not as far over. So you go third, and it's like fifth is just kind of like vague, but it was going into fifth a minute ago. We'll have to, I need to kind of like drive it a bit and figure it out. We'll do that in a minute, but I'm gonna put this all back together. You know, you look at I have the full set of Saab service manuals, and you look at this procedure and it says adjusting, engage reverse gear, release the clamp on the gear shift joint, lock the gear lever, check the reverse gear is in full engagement in the gearbox. But it doesn't tell me, how do I do that? Do I open up the side cover? Like, how do I do that? For reference, this interior is so smartly designed. You can put all of this together, then put the entire console module back in. You do have to put the carpeted portion in first, then you can slip this in right here. All right, we're gonna take a little driving test to go get beers and some food, not just beers, and let's see how I did. I just said earlier, but I cannot overstate how bad the shifting was before. When I picked this car up, you basically could not get the car into third gear. You could barely get it into first gear, and I had it in my head that, all right, here we are in first gear right now. I had it in my head that, oh, I'm like, this car has a bad transmission. And, you know, just like in the white car, in the video I just made, where, with the clutch, where I was like, oh, the transmission's bad. But in reality, you know what? The clutch isn't fully disengaging the transmission. And so again, this very, very simple problem, the adjustment of the shift linkage, the self-centering mechanism, produced the behavior that made you think that there was some sort of terrible transmission problem. Now, I'll tell you what is terrible in this car. This steering rack is completely done. It's just hemorrhaging fluid out of it. Okay, so, all right, here we go. Yeah. Second. Third. Oh my God, that modern classic Saab short throw shifter. Yeah. Back up to third. Second. Oh, that's a stale green right there. Last thing I want to do is have this beautiful Saab and then have some idiot crash into me, ruin my beautiful Saab. You could barely even get into third before. Fifth is the one where we're not going to get into fifth. We're just going over here to Supermoon Brewing. The guy who was the head brewer at Penrose Brewing in Geneva, Illinois, went and broke out and started his own thing. And very unique beers. Very unique beers, but this is amazing. This is just already an amazing driving experience, I can tell. Now I can actually drive this car. I feel confident driving the car. I feel confident that I'm not, you know, destroying something. Well, I mean, the entire front suspension, the next series of videos on this car are going to be complete, you know, there's no parking brake because it's just, the calipers are completely completely out of adjustment, completely ratcheted back with the parking brake mechanism, but it's so rusty and everything under there for this car. We're going to completely disassemble the front suspension. We're going to sandblast the control arms. We're going to install the new steering rack, rebuild it a bit, new boots, new tie rod ends, new ball joints, paint all that stuff, new brakes, potentially some new wheel bearings. Like, we're going to make this thing like 100%, okay? So thanks a lot. This is a long episode. Hopefully some people will find this episode useful at some point, because it's a hell of a job. I thought this was going to be like a 3-4 hour thing, and it turned out to be a 2-day thing. Mostly because when I went into it, obviously I had thought that I was going to be replacing the bushing in there, and it turned out the bushing was fine. It wasn't part of the problem at all. So, peace out. Love this car. Love it.
Can I have the golden teacher? Could we also like taste test the Gruner? It just seems crazy in a good way.